Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Today, we are back in the kitchen with Razan Sahuri for a 30-minute lesson from the kitchen on healthy ideas for what to do with seasonal summer produce from the local farmers market, which we've just been chatting about, or your favorite place to shop. Razan works at the University of Maryland Extension and is Howard County's Maryland SNAP Ed nutrition educator. She holds a bachelor's degree in nutrition and dietetics and a master's degree in public health. Through her work with the University of Maryland Extension, Razan partners with Howard County Public School System, Head Start centers, and the Howard County Food Bank to deliver nutrition education to students, parents, and teachers. These collaborations also involve leveraging resources between Maryland SNAP Ed and local community agencies to facilitate greater access to and availability of healthy food options and influence the adoption of policy, systems, and physical environment changes related to a healthier lifestyle. Today's material was funded by USDA's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, in cooperation with Maryland's Department of Human Services and University of Maryland Extension. This institution is an equal opportunity provider. We welcome Razan, and we're so excited to have you again. What healthy ideas do you have to share with us today?
Thank you for having me. I'm trying to share my screen. Today I tried to keep my slides as short as possible. So we're going to talk about the farmers markets that are available in the county so folks know which ones to go to, and then we're going to briefly talk about what's in season, and I'm going to show you 2 or 3 recipes depending on how much time we have. So first of all, this is the list of farmers markets we have, and I got that from the Economic Development Authority. So these are like the legit farmers markets that we have. That doesn't mean that we don't have other markets. We might have other ones. So if you know of any other ones, please feel free to let everybody know. And the nice thing about our markets, we have one market, different markets, different days of the week. So, you know, if you prefer a weekend market, there's a market for you, or if you prefer a weekday market, you also have weekday options. And then we have the morning ones, we have the afternoon ones. So, you know, it's more comprehensive in terms of, you know, trying to cater to our needs. So if you want to use your benefits, if you have benefits and you want to use them when shopping at the farmers market, note that not all markets operate the same way. So it's best to stop and check with the market manager to get information before you shop. So first of all, we have the Women, Infant, and Children, which is WIC. There's the Senior Fruit and Vegetable Checks, or FVC, and then we have the Farmers Market Nutrition Program, FMNP. They're all mouthfuls, and then we have the Incentive Program, which is the EBT at the market. So these are different types of benefits that you might have and you can use at the market. So when it comes to your FSP, not all markets, as I mentioned, operate the same. So make sure you check, you talk to the manager. In terms of, if you buy produce with your WIC checks, make sure you have your WIC money with you. When we talk about EBT, which is the electronic benefits transfer, they're usually paid to the market manager, so you can't go directly to the farmer to use them. Like, for example, your WIC or your senior vouchers, these you need to go to the market manager. They'll give you a token, and then you can swap that and shop. And then there are some incentive programs like the Maryland Market Money, or they call it MMM sometimes. In our county, there's only one market that actually accepts or participates in that, which is the Clarksville Comps, which is the Saturday market, and they match. So you spend, for example, $5, and then they will match it. They will match other $5. So you'll get basically free money to shop fruits and vegetables. So make sure you ask the market manager about all of these options that you might have. And then let's go to the fun part. So that's the technical part of it. And then for the fruit and vegetable aspect of it, the nice thing about summer is that's when we have the best produce. We also have great produce in the fall, but in the summer we start getting a lot of produce. I'm going to mention not all of them, but the most popular ones that we find at the farmers market. So first of all, what's in season in terms of vegetables? So you will see your tomatoes, you'll see your corn, squash. Sometimes you might see green beans, but these are the ones that, we usually see during warm weather. So when we talk about squash, because also there is some fall squash or winter squash that, it's a different kind of squash. The summer squash is more fresh. So when we talk about green squash, like the one you see on the screen, it's also known as zucchini. There's yellow squash, also light. It's called crookneck. These are basically the popular types of summer squash. And one of the things that I feel that not a lot of people know about squash is that you can eat it raw. So you can eat it, as a snack. You can dip it with hummus, or if you like to dip it with a little bit of cream cheese. So think of it as you would eat your, let's say, carrots, or you can have a crudité platter in the summer and have squash there. And then you can also add it to your salad. So you can shred it or you can slice it and just have it in your big bowl of salad. The nice thing about it is that it's very light. So you can also, of course, grill it, you can saute it, you can bake it, your regular way of doing it. But the nice thing about it as well, that its flavor is very mild. And the summer squash is even milder in flavor than, the one that comes later in the year. So what that means is you can also put it in your, you can not hide it. I don't want to say hide it, but if you have a picky eater, you can hide it, but you can also use it in your sauces, in your stews, in your soups. You can also put it in your baked goods. It can be the star, like zucchini bread, for example, or you can, even if you're making, let's say, chocolate cake, you can still add it in your batter because it doesn't have a lot of flavor. It's easily, it can, easily be added to any recipe without actually affecting it. So that's a good way, to add, to boost your nutrition, to your dishes, and to add more fiber as well to your dishes. Moving to tomatoes, and if you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the chat. So moving to tomatoes, we usually use tomatoes we eat them with sandwiches, we eat them in, raw, we eat them in, the ways we're usually used to it. But one of the nice things about tomatoes is you can actually use it with fruit to make a salad. So there is a recipe that you're going home with, which is a watermelon tomato salad that's really fresh, very summery, and it's very nice. So you can add it to your peaches, for example. Peaches are in season as well. So think of tomatoes and think of other fruit that are in season, and then match them together or mix them together in a salad. Another thing is, because tomatoes are round and kind of, some of them are on the bigger side, you can use them as a vessel to cook. So you can stuff them, you can remove the inside, make your stuffing using the inside with other vegetables, with rice, with quinoa, with anything you like, and then you can put them back in your tomato and bake them, and you're getting a recipe that way. So when you bake them, it comes out, it looks very nice. So if you're hosting, you're having something that looks put together, but it's so easy to make. It looks much more, it looks like you've spent so much time in the kitchen, where it's really, you just scooped it out, but it looks nice. And then, of course, you can, when you have a lot of tomatoes, say, especially towards August, when there's plenty tomatoes, you can take those tomatoes, you can, turn them into sauce. And you can make your own sauce, you can freeze it, or if you're into canning, you can can it, you can make your tomato sauce. It can be something as easy as you can cook your diced tomatoes, you can add herbs. So if you have herbs at your, in your garden, you can use that, or you can get herbs from the farmer's market, or you can also use dried herbs like oregano. You can add garlic and onion, and you can just make tomato sauce that you can use for your pastas, or you can make it as a base for something else. And as I mentioned, you can freeze those in, plastic bags, freezer bags, and then use them throughout the year. And then we have corn. And usually throughout the year we might have frozen corn, canned corn, but the nice thing in the summer, we can have your typical, corn on the cob, which is, the most, I feel like, summer vegetable thing when I think about, summer produce. And then instead of adding butter to it, to watch the fat, what you can do is you can squeeze some lime on it, and then sprinkle some chili powder, just, to add some flavor, but at the same time, keep the fat content low. You can also eat corn raw. So you can also, cut it, add it to your salads, which is, an easy thing to do. Or you can, just remove the kernels and add them to your stir fry or to your soups, or it's so easy, to incorporate it. Of course, given the flavor that it's a little bit on the sweeter side. But the nice thing also about corn, if you cook it in soups, let's say, or sauces, you can blend it. And when you puree it or blend it, it gives that creamy thickness to, it thickens the sauce without adding cream or adding fat. So that's something else. So if you're trying to thicken something and you don't want to add cream or you don't want to add extra fat, try blending more corn to it. It will kind of make it a little bit thicker. Any questions so far? Okay. So I'm moving to the summer produce now, and that's also just a small snippet. And when we talk about fruits in the summer, I'm just drooling thinking about them. The first group or family is the stone fruit family. So the stone fruit family is because they have this one large pit inside. So think of your peaches, nectarines, apricots, plums, and all of these, are abundant at this time. The nice thing about it, it's so easy for a grab and go snack where, you have it intact, the fruit is intact. So that's one thing to always consider. Just like a banana where, it's easy, you can take it with you. And then, or an apple. And then something else, I feel like we don't do that enough where, take it, slice it, you can add it to your cereal in the morning, or you can add it to your yogurt, waffles. So think of, dishes where you might add strawberry in the morning. You can swap that to your stone fruit when, you have a lot of it. You can also add it to your salad. So just like when we talked, you can pair it with a tomato, you can also pair it with your, spinach, and add it to a big, bowl of salad, and that tastes great. Today we're going to make a salsa. I think I've made this before online, but it's such a hit that I wanted to repeat it. It's so great. You can have it as a snack or as a side, and you'll see how easy it is. The second family that I want to talk about is the berries family, where it starts with strawberries in the spring, and then right now it's peak time for strawberries. Soon enough we're going to have blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, so all the berries in general. The nice thing about this time of year, you can get those, use them any way you like to use them, but then keep in mind that you can use them and freeze them for the rest of the year. When they're the cheapest, when they're the most flavorful, and when they're local, their flavor is more heightened, which is a great thing. And then we have the melons, like watermelon, cantaloupes, also something to keep in mind. You can have them as is, or you can also incorporate them in dishes. And there's that watermelon tomato salad that you're going to receive. And if we have time today, I'm going to show you a watermelon slushy. With that, let me stop the slides so we can do the cooking part, the demo part. Any questions so far?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, and let me know if you see my prep area. All right, let me get the recipes. So I'm going to start with, let me see which one. We're going to start with the banana blueberry baked oatmeal. And just like all our recipes, if you don't have blueberries, you have strawberries, you can do that. And this is nice for breakfast or brunch, whatever you have. So you need 2 bowls, one for the dry ingredients and one for the wet ingredients, and then you can, mix them together. So for this recipe, what I did, I divided them because I prepared half of it already, just to show you. So you need 2 cups of whole rolled oats, and this is 1 cup because I used the other cup to prepare. And then the recipe asks for nuts. I didn't put nuts because in my household, there's someone that's allergic. So, you can add the nuts. Walnuts are great. If you have any ideas on which nuts to add, please let us know as well. 1/4 cup of brown sugar, that's 4 tablespoons. So these are 2 because it's half. And then 1 teaspoon of baking powder. I'm just going to tell you the actual amounts, but these are just half. And then we have 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, just to add that nice flavor. And also you can use, if you have pumpkin spice, you can use that. You can use anything. And then, so this is the dry ingredients. We're just gonna give them a quick, mix. And then for the wet ingredients, you need 2 cups of milk, low-fat milk. I'm going to use this is a plant-based milk. So depending, whatever you have at home. And if you don't have milk at all, you can use water. It's just about whatever you have. And then we're going to use 1 egg. So this is a mixed 1 egg. All right. And then 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And 2 tablespoons of margarine or butter melted. I melted this earlier, so I'm not sure. That means the AC is working at home, at least, because it's no longer melted. So I'm going to mix those together. Once everything is melted, everything is mixed, you're going to add the wet ingredients to the dry ingredients. Right. I'm sorry about the butter. We're just going to pretend that it's melted. But this is how it will look like, it's more on the liquid side. And then once you have that ready, you're going to add 1.5 cups of blueberries or any other berries that you have. And this is, right now you can use fresh because it's in season, but during the winter, if you'd like to use frozen, you can totally do that. So you're going to add your blueberries, and then you're going to add a banana to that. Again, you can also only have banana if you don't want to add blueberries, or you can only have blueberries without bananas. All these recipes are very forgiving, so you can pick and choose what you'd like.
Razan, we do have a question in the chat. They're asking what type of margarine you're using. Any preferences?
So I use butter, actual butter. So usually when you buy any of these things, just try and make sure it has the least amount of ingredients as possible. So you know how sometimes there's a lot of ingredients, more ingredients into whatever it is. So try and get it as close as the least amount of ingredients as possible. So the recipe asks for 8 by 8, but because I divided it, I'm using a smaller one. I'm using a spray instead of oiling it. But if you don't have spray, you can oil it. You can also use butter. Anyway, you're just gonna put it in. And the nice thing is you can prepare this the night before. It works great for breakfast, brunch, also for dessert. You can have this, with a side of vanilla yogurt or vanilla ice cream, and it works and it's healthy. So if you've added any nuts, you have half of the nuts in the batter, and then you'll sprinkle the other half on top. You're going to bake it for 35 to 40 minutes at 375. So once you bake it, you just forget it, you pop it in the oven. And then with TV magic, let me grab my mitten. It'll be ready. It's so easy to make as you saw. So this is the first, and I wanted to show you because there's an egg, it's more, there's no liquid. And it works great as I love it as dessert. It's light. And for breakfast, it doesn't sound, if you have picky eaters, it's sweet. they can add whatever fruits they like. So that's the first recipe. The second recipe is, are we good on time?
Yep, we're good on time.
Perfect. The second recipe is peach salsa, and this works wonders in terms of if you're hosting, it's a great appetizer or a side dish with grilled chicken, grilled fish. This recipe asks for 2 peaches, washed, peeled, and chopped. I don't peel them. I like to keep the peel just since it's, it's more fiber, and I like to keep the fruit as intact as possible. So those are 2 peaches. And again, you can add any other fruit. Mangoes work great with this as well. Half red bell pepper, washed and chopped. And then you can add other bell peppers. So if you have green, whatever color you have. And then 2 jalapeno peppers, washed, seeded, and finely chopped as well. And sometimes I feel like those jalapenos are more on the spicy side. So just, if you don't like spicy food, you've been warned. 3 scallions, which are, green onions, washed and chopped. And then half a cucumber, washed, seeded, and chopped. And I use Persian cucumbers. So it's 1 cucumber. Again, this is what I had. So, always improvise with whatever you have. So this is the base. You just mix it. And then for the dressing or the sauce, you have juice of 1 lime. And if you don't have lime, you can use lemon. And 2 tablespoons of honey. And if you like it less sweet, you can add less honey to it. I'm just gonna put it like this. And you can serve this with chips or as a side, as I mentioned. I like when I have leftovers. It sits well in the fridge. The flavors get much nicer, I feel, when they're in the fridge. So I might have that as a snack in the afternoon. So this is the salsa. And for our last recipe, which is super quick as well, you know how sometimes we have a lot of melons and we're just trying to do something a little bit different. So this recipe, you need ice. So my ice is almost melted. Add ice in your blender, and you don't have to do that part. And then I'm going to add 2 cups of watermelon, washed and cut into cubes. And then half a cup of cantaloupe or any other, melon you have. And then just to give it a little bit of liquid, I'm going to add 1/4 cup of orange juice. The recipe asks for honey, 1 tablespoon of honey, but I'm not going to add the honey. If you taste it and feel like you need more sweetness, you can totally do that. I'm going to mute for a minute just to blend it. And then I'll show it to you. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask. Oh, I need to mute from here. The recipe asks for mint for garnish, but I also like to add mint inside if I have it. I like mint with watermelon. So just to show you. And this is a very refreshing drink, but don't let it sit for too long because it will separate. The liquid in the watermelon will just separate. and you'll get liquid, and you know how the pulp will be on one side and the liquid will be on the other side. So this is your watermelon slushy, the salsa, and then let me cut some of the oatmeal for you to see. Any questions?
Razan, we did have one question about the banana in that oatmeal recipe.
Sure.
Is it sliced or smashed, or does that matter?
So I slice it because I want fruits to be, when I cut it, I want it to be, visible, but you can totally smash it or mash it and have it inside. And I feel like it's easier to just slice it as well. It's one less, but if, you can also add it to the batter, but it might make it thicker, just, FYI. So that's it. I hope, you try them. You're going, there's a lot of recipes that you will receive, play around with them. And then all of them are just super easy recipes. You can swap whatever you have, just when you get any of those produce at home, just think of ways how you can incorporate them, not just the traditional way you usually do it, but how you can add them to your breakfast, ingredients or lunch or even snack. And, just explore, experiment with it. And if you have kiddos, let them also help you in the kitchen. They're more likely to try them as well.
Wow, everything looks fantastic and delicious, especially for these hot summer days that we have ahead. So we want to thank everybody. If anybody has a question for Razan, please type it in the chat. We have another minute or two. We'll be happy to answer. If not, you can always email Razan. We'll put her email address in the chat for you. She loves to see pictures of your
Yes, I'm
creations
going to
as
do
well.
that. Please, if you have any pictures, if you try it, if you like it, or even if you don't like it, or you have you've added or modified it, I'd love to hear that.
Go
Okay.
ahead and send. Thank you.
All right, well, I'm just going to thank you again for being with us today. We are so excited, as always, to have you. You'll find today's handouts and recipes attached to the event listing on our calendar page if everyone searches Market to Mealtime at howardcounty.librarycalendar.com. But we'll also send those in a follow-up email. If you have a question or want to share a recipe with Razan, as Nancy said, you can email her. It's rsahuri@umd.edu. She also loves, as Nancy said, to see pictures of your dishes. So please, send those along.
Thank you.
Thank
And we'll see you in the fall.
All right.
Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.